Hi everyone, welcome back to the Novel Nomad. And like I said, when it rained it pours. It is actually raining today. It is feeling very cozy in here today, even though it's spring in Australia. It is feeling very cozy, and that means it's a perfect time to actually talk about Victober. Now, I am running a little bit late this year on the Victober bandwagon. Usually I'm like, once the videos are out, I'm watching them and going, and it's just been a little bit of a crazy year, as you know from my previous video. But let's get into it now. It's already October. I need to start my reading. So let's talk about Victorian literature reads. So if you don't know, Victober runs for the month of October, and it's a time for when you can read novels written during the Victorian era. Primarily, we're looking at like British, Irish, and, well, greater UK kind of reads, but I have branched out a few years and read some Australian, I think French translated, and other reads that were written during the Victorian era. It's really interesting to get that different perspective, but the primary goal was to read some books written in England or the UK during the Victorian era. So first off, we have some challenges. First challenge is Kate's challenge, and that is to read a Victorian book that has religious elements, where religion is a component in the book. Now, my absolute favorite recommendation, I'm going to go through what the challenges are and a recommendation for that. I absolutely love the way Elizabeth Gaskell works religion into her books. I cannot find my copy of Cranford for some reason. I do love Cranford more for this challenge, but if you do have a copy of North and South, that would also work really well. It's just a really beautiful way that religion can be worked into a story, and it's just such a beautiful element throughout her books. So Katie's challenge is to read a Victorian novel or book that plays with form in some way. They're wonderful at playing with forms because the novel was such a new and intriguing system and format. So it was such a beautiful time for form exploration, and it always has been since then. But I cannot go past recommending Frankenstein. I know this squeaks in is probably just slightly before the Victorian era, but it was a very big player during the Victorian era. So it wasn't published in the Victorian era, just beforehand. But I love the letter form, the epistolary form that is used quite a lot in Gothic, but it's used quite a lot in Victorian writing as well. And this features very prominently in Frankenstein. So it's just beautiful. And I love this cover by Rhodes Classics. Really beautiful covers. But yeah, I recommend Frankenstein. It's one of my absolute favorite reads. So Marissa's challenge is to read a book that was originally serialized. Now, serialization was huge during like the 1850s, going all the way through to 1890s and beyond. So you could honestly read quite a number of Victorian books that were originally serialized. One of them being, say, Annie Dickens. Most of his was serialized. Arthur Conan Doyle, his was part of a magazine, and even Wilkie Collins. These were great books that were serialized just to keep the reader's attention in these amazing magazines, and then they turned into volumes after. Next is Roz's challenge, which is to experience, not just read, but experience a Victorian play. There's so many good ones. So you can listen, read, watch, things like that. One of my favorites, and one I find really accessible to find, is Oscar Wilde's The Importance of Being Earnest. It is hilarious. It's a really good play that transitions well for modern tastes, but it's absolutely wonderful with the language. There's a movie, they did pretty close in the movie, but if you find the actual like voice actors or, you know, a performance recording, it's really, really worth it. It's absolutely wonderful. All right, so you saw squeaking in just before what the group challenge is, and that is to read books by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle or Wilkie Collins. So Wilkie Collins, the ones on my shelf is The Woman in White and the Moonstone. I actually haven't read any Wilkie Collins. I know. Like, how long have I been doing Victober and I haven't read any Wilkie Collins or any Anthony Trollope for that matter. Speaking of religious components, I like, yeah, Anthony Trollope's lovely as well. But yeah, I haven't read any of them, and well, lovely from reports, I should say. But Wilkie Collins is one, I was supposed to read this for university, and you know when you just like, yeah, I read like bits and pieces, and I have enough just to talk about it at the tutorials or in class, but I never did an assignment on it, so I didn't 100% read it. So yeah, Wookie Collins, I am considering picking up this challenge because this is going to be great to actually read one of these from my shelf. But these are the two I have. If you have read Wookie Collins and absolutely adore one of these books or both of them, let me know down below and I will definitely consider picking up one of them. The other one, which I am actually going to pick up, is Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's 5 Pips in Other Cases. These are short stories. So what I do love about this is I've actually read The Adventures of Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Sorry, wrong one. The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I should say. But there are stories in here that are from his other collections and other actual books. So I am going to be reading the stories that I haven't read. There are a few, I think, from the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes and The Last Beau in here, as well as The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes. So yeah, this one is definitely going to be read for my Victober this year for part of this challenge as well. So yes, that's definitely on the top of my reading list. But yes, let me know regarding Wookie Collins. If you have a recommendation, that'd be awesome, because I just like, oh, every time I come to it. I mean, they sound amazing. They're kind of like this late Victorian kind of gothic themes dealing with this kind of conflict of colonialism. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts, and I can't wait to pick one of them to read. Hopefully I'll read it. And lastly, the group read, which I am so excited for more people to discover because it's such a beautiful book. And that is The Doctor's Wife by Mary Elizabeth Braddon. Now, Mary Elizabeth Braddon is known for Lady Audley's Secret, which is a wonderful sensationalist read. But I actually have been reading Mary Elizabeth Braddon's works with Kate Howe over the past few Victobers, and it's just been wonderful to discover her other work. She was quite an adventurous writer. She liked to dabble in style. So this one is probably a more commercialized front for Mary Elizabeth Braddon, but I highly recommend it. It's such a fun read. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. So yes, this will be running, I think, from the first 18 days of October. I don't think it's going for the whole month, but it would be absolute joy for everyone to discover more, and I cannot wait to hear everyone's wrap-ups and thoughts on this book at the end of the month. Okay, all of that aside, what am I reading? Now, we know that I'm reading a few of the stories from 5 Pips and Other Tales from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes collection. I am potentially going to be reading a Wookie Collins, but my October is actually quite busy this year, and I was considering if I was going to be taking part in Victober because I love this reading challenge every single year, but it's just one that I love to devote time to. And I know my October this year is going to be very busy. A little life update is that I'm actually going to be traveling quite a bit in October. One, I'm going to Melbourne for many conventions over like quite a long weekend. And then the next one is I'm actually going to be going away overseas to Seoul in South Korea, and also to Japan. So it's not really a month that I can dedicate or travel with a giant Victorian tome. But that's what I'm going to read. I have been wanting to read Little Dorrit for a very long time, and I decided to finally pick it up. It's one that I think is going to be a bit of a challenge, especially within the time frame that I have, but it's a Dickens that I really love and I thoroughly enjoy, especially watching the adaptation. So I really want to read the actual original book to actually discover the characters and see the story behind the adaptations, I should say. So yes, so obviously this is achievable. This is the challenge, and maybe I shall also potentially partake in a Wookie Collins reading adventure. But that is my Victober, what I've got planned so far. And I hope you all have a wonderful Victober. Let me know what you're reading. Link me your TBRs down below if I haven't found them yet. And I'm just so excited that it's Victober again, and it's this wonderful time of year. So I'll see you all next time. Happy reading. Bye.